The Super Console X is coming. Time for a message from the future! Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So a message from the future, we are going to talk about new stuff coming up. So in this video we are going to talk about the Super Console X, but before we're going to talk about it, do a little recap. So in the previous videos I've spoken about many different, let's say, retro consoles from a furniture in China. Especially with a pie inside, that was something that was very popular, that you just basically slap an orange pie in it and just sold with some controllers and you had a retro system. Also we had the Pandora Treasure Minis, were like mini versions of consoles, and there were so many different versions, and also Android boxes that were basically redesigned for retro gaming purposes. So when you're looking at the, let's say, consoles from China, there were quite some different versions out there and there was quite some development. But the Super Console X, the question remains, is this device a completely new redesign, or is it just another Android box inside a new, completely different casing? And of course, nowadays it's always the question what you're going to get. Even with the S905M chip, it can be very interesting to see what we're going to get and what are the capabilities when it comes to retro gaming or modern gaming. So this Super Console X is based on Linux, and so as they say, it's an open source video game console. I'm very curious what they mean with this, so can we modify it? I'm guessing it is, because there are some information on the page itself that we're going to take a closer look at that are quite interesting, and it seems to be that they're having a lot of freedom to do whatever we want with it. And so far I can see it's not a Raspberry Pi, of course, because the Raspberry Pi doesn't have this chipset I already mentioned before. Of course, like always, they need to rip something off, so they basically use the color scheme like the Super NES Mini, and yeah, trying to show the people that they managed to rip it off and make something kind of unique. Don't know, don't care. But let's talk about the casing itself and the product, because we're having a lot of information on the page itself. So it seems to be that this machine is capable of running N64, PSP, Dreamcast and all the stuff that we have seen before in different versions of more like Raspberry Pi versions or based on an Android box. So it seems to be this thing is also not very cheap. We have different versions out there. You can buy it with Super NES controllers and of course with the rip-off fake PlayStation 2 controllers. Always the question, what are we going to get with the quality, because these things are not to be compared with the original Sony controllers. But yeah, the Super NES controllers are kinda pointless because we have a lot of stuff that we can play simply because with the Super NES controllers we're missing buttons. So the only thing that is interesting are the PlayStation controllers. It is USB, so I'm hoping that we can add our own controllers if you're having an Xbox 360 controller, Xbox One. That is something we need to try out if we're going to get the product in, just to see what kind of controls we can use in this device. So this device has the Wi-Fi edition enabled, so what you can do with it we shall need to see then. Support for wireless, and what they mean with this, the original controllers that you're going to get are most of the time with a wireless dongle that has 2.4 GHz connection, but we also have the option to use it with Bluetooth, and that is very interesting. So if you're having a controller from 8BitDo laying around, you can use them on this device. So the Super Console X is a very tiny console. We can buy it, as I said, as a Super Console X Mini if you're looking at the measurements. Only weighs 106 grams. It has a 4-core ARAM, Cortex A53 CPU. The chipset is an S950M, but the system that it's working on is EMU-ALEC, and we have seen this before in a different video of mine. So when you're looking at it, it's quite interesting, and I'm getting the feeling they're just using an Android box, putting EMU-ALEC on it, and maybe redesign the casing itself, make it more feel like a game system. So the Super Console X is just basically an EMU-ALEC Android device, yeah, in a different casing. Quite interesting and gives us a lot of options. If this device is powerful enough to run Dreamcast, that is something we need to check out if this product comes in. 4-core, it's not the best specs I have seen, only 1.5 GHz processor, drives with a Linux operating system. I don't know. Okay, the question also remains, what kind of games can we play and how are they going to run? We can say that most of the systems nowadays can play PlayStation 1 without any problem. Doesn't even matter if it's an Android box and Raspberry Pi 3 or 4. But when you're looking at the support, they also claim it can run PSP. And that is something that I found it very interesting. And the same goes for Dreamcast, because Dreamcast depends also what kind of emulator they're using. Because with the emulation scene, you know guys, it's just more like a mixed bag sometimes. And when you're going to get a product like this again, for maybe this 10th time that can not run DC or PSP because they're claiming it can, but it's not powerful enough. I think it's pretty annoying in my opinion. Don't you love these guys that they're claiming we're having support for 4K television, but what they're trying to say actually is support for 4K because the systems are most of the time running on 1080p or 720p. Alright, so when you're looking it up and seeing in the title saying 4K retro game system, everybody's going to get excited, but in the end you're just going to get 1080p or 720p, depends a little bit what kind of emulator you're using and how they configure it. The controller support. That is something what I find very interesting, because now we're having the Bluetooth capabilities of the mainboard, so we can add whatsoever controller you want to. And that's something that I think is very interesting and we don't have seen before with some of these systems. Most of them we don't have Bluetooth capabilities at all. So when it comes to the cooling, that is also very strange in my opinion, because at the bottom we're having the cooling hole. Yes, but this is not when the product is getting hot, heat will want to go up. So in the end, you need to have the cooling fan or things on the top. Nevertheless, let me know in the comments what you think of this. And with this part, I just want to say the multi-device compatibility. They just want to say that the controls that you buy with the dongle can be used on other systems like an Android phone or a PC, notebook, or smart TV. Something you need to try out for yourself, simply because they're just basic Chinese controllers. And it is highly possible indeed they're going to get recognized by other systems. And when it comes to the gamepad or the Super NES controller, this thing looks freaking horrible and it looks very cheap, so we're going to skip it and I'm not even going to order it myself. It's just crap. Multi-language system, so as you can see we're having multiple languages. It's very convenient, so that's something you don't see very often. So when it comes to the connections, there are quite some options out there. We're only having 2 USB ports, Ethernet connection, Wi-Fi, TF card. We're having the AV out function. That's it, and of course an on and off switch. That's something we do miss a lot of game consoles nowadays, that we're going to get this casing without an on and off switch. So we're having quite some information now, and I'm very curious what are we going to get with this device. In the end, it will be an Android box with EMU-ALEC on it, so that's something you just need to take consideration. But how good it is, I don't know, and if it's worth your money, that is also something we need to find out in the future. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, become one of the Wicked family, and I will see you in the next video.